Hello. We're getting close to being there. The ad is nearly done. We've got 25 seconds left, and then I will appear. I'm not going to start while people are being forced to sit through ads. That would be very unfortunate. Hello. Hello. How are you all doing today? Hello. Hi, M0. Hello, Phi. How are you doing? Hi, Talaran. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing good. I am doing okay. I am vibing. I am existing. Uh, my life has been my day even. My day has been very uneventful, I think. So, unfortunately, I have no interesting things to tell you all, other than I have just existed. How are we all doing today? So, my plan for today is that, right, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Okay, Steins Gate. There was a lot of things in Steins Gate. There was a lot of things. We talked about so many things. So what if we read a paper that is tangentially related to Steins Gate? Waiting on reagent to arrive to actually do work. Until then, watching stream. Nice. Nice, nice. We love that. I have this like theory that anything that's like science or engineering orientated, like a large chunk of it is just waiting for things to happen. Because like in psychology, we don't really have like, you know, reactions that we're waiting on, but we do have people that we're waiting on. And like if I want to run a study, then I have to like set up a time for people to be in the lab and they have to actually turn up. And most of the time they don't. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, but they're late. So yeah, my theory is that a large chunk of science is just waiting for other people to do their thing or waiting for something to do its thing. And yeah, just hoping for the best. So yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, my plan. Oh, movie scientists have much more exciting lives than real scientists. That's so true. Where is my like asteroid to prevent or like aliens that I'm meant to be translating for? Stuff like that. I don't know. They always seem to do such interesting things and ethically questionable things. I think the two probably overlap actually. Yeah. But yeah. So, paper for Journal Club. Hi Zaxox, how are you doing today? So the plan for today's Journal Club is because there were so many things that I was thinking about in relation to Steins Gate, because there was just so much. There was so much going on in that game. So I'm thinking we have some choices. We have some choices. Um, I think we should read a paper, vaguely relevant, and I have a whole bunch of potential choices. Um, that being said, I think we're going to need to choose them carefully. So, my suggestion for what we could read today is I have not read this paper, by the way. I don't know what this is. I'm just suggesting it. I would like to hear your input. It's titled A Historical Text Based Game Designed to Develop Critical Thinking Skills. Now, why did I think of this? So, there's two reasons. Right. So, first of all, Steins Gate. Right. There is some interesting thinking going on in Steins Gate. And second of all, Steins Gate is a text-based game. It's a visual novel, you know? It's text-based. And I'd like to learn a bit more about whether text-based games can actually teach us things and develop our skills. I think that would be cool. A lot of science is observation. So true, so true. Enjoy your lurk, M0. Go and do your homework. The lurk message actually fits really well. Holy cow, I've actually heard of that paper. Never read it before though. Okay, that's either a really good sign or a really bad sign. My gut instinct is probably a bad one, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Let's see. So first of all, let me find the link to the paper so that everyone can also access it. Oh, we're sorry, but the requested URL cannot be found. Well, that's good. That's a good sign. Right. Let me try and do this a different way. I use the DOI, our favourite DOI. Let's see. Here it is. A historical text-based game designed to develop critical thinking skills. Yeah, I have no idea what this is about. I just thought it sounded cool and then decided we're doing it. So this is the paper. I hope this will actually be some degree of useful or interesting today because I probably, every time I do this, I'm like, at some point during the day, I'm like, I should probably like check over the paper to see what it's like before I start reading it on stream, and then I never do. Yeah, because I am not that prepared. Okay, so we want to swap over here, and we want to do this. Oh, that's too zoomed in. Is that a bit better? There we go. That's more like it. So, let me bring that back up. Cool. Not reading the paper in advance, just like a real journal club? So true. I don't think I've ever actually been to a journal club where I've read the paper unless I was like presenting it. So for the less for everybody that's never been to a journal club, basically what's meant to happen is that you turn up and like one person presents a paper and everybody has read it and then you all talk about it. So they basically give you like, I don't know, like a 10-minute summary of the paper in a presentation form. The reality is that you turn up, one person has read the entire paper in depth so that they could put together this presentation, and they spent way too much time on it, and then nobody else has read it. So yeah, that's a thing. That's a very delayed stream element of that. Okay. It's doing its best. But yeah, a historical. Wow, we're literally 13 minutes into the stream, and I already can't speak. That's a very good sign. I think this is going to go well. A historical text-based game designed to develop critical thinking skills by Vero and Matthew Barr, both at the University of Glasgow in the UK, in Scotland. We love that. Yeah. So, what do we think? What are our thoughts? What are our predictions for the paper? I think a fair few of you have been to multiple journal clubs now. Do we think that? What do we reckon? I just want to know. I want to know what you're thinking, just about what it might be about, or wait, you can kind of see the beginning of the abstract though. You know what? Let's just dive into it. Gamers rise up. So true. So true. Honestly, there's like a little while ago there was like a gamer's identity scale. So like how much like it measures how much somebody identifies with being a gamer. And I really wanted to read it on stream, but it's closed access and it made me very sad to find that out. So we can't read the gamer identity scale, which is so sad, extremely sad. But we've got this. We've got the game designed to develop critical thinking skills instead. That'll do. Okay, so getting to my my paper reading zone. Okay, so designing an intervention that can effectively develop critical thinking skills is challenging because of the problems of transfer and domain specificity. I love it when they use technical terms in the abstract and just expect you to know it. I think hopefully that is explained in the introduction. If it's not, we'll come back to it. The authors described the design and development of a text-based game that could teach players important critical thinking skills in the domain of history. This was achieved by combining Schon's reflective practitioner model with game-based learning principles. The work contributes to the existing literature because of the combination of the models employed allowed the game design to address the problem of transfer as well as developing critical thinking skills. The instrument used to evaluate the effectiveness of the game was a questionnaire. Ooh, a questionnaire. based on the reflective practitioner model. The gathered qualitative data were analysed through affinity diagramming. The results show that the game was developed has potential to encourage advanced levels of historical thought as well as critical thinking skills. Okay, so I am not an expert in this area. In fact, I know basically nothing about this area of like game. Yeah, like using a game to develop critical thinking skills. I mean, I know a little bit, but not that much. So sounds like when they said it a historical text-based game, I thought for some reason I was like, oh, it's going to be like retro style. I did not realize it was going to be actually about history. So that's interesting. But yeah, sounds pretty straightforward in theory. I have no idea what I have a vague idea of what the reflective practitioner model might be, but again, hopefully they explain that, because I probably would explain it wrong, and I would rather that people who know what they're talking about explain it, and then I can build on it, because I want to make sure it's actually the thing I think it is. Okie dokie, so I think that was a pretty good abstract overall. Like, it was very to the point. It tells you exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it and why it's important, and I think that's cool. That's a good one. We like that. We give them, what should we give them out of 5 stars? What should we rate that abstract? I think it's a solid 4. It does everything actually, although it doesn't really tell you much about what the results actually were. I think that would be a little bit better. Would be to just like one sentence to say, hey, we found this specifically in our questionnaire. But yeah, otherwise we like it. Okay. Fun field-specific quirk of naming Sean. I don't think I've seen that in biology. Yeah, I think this might be an education thing. So in the summer, I went to like a big education conference, and as a field, they seem to love name-dropping people. Like I went to several like panels and workshops where they just assumed that you had read very specific people. And I was sat there like, I don't know who that is. Am I meant to know who that is? I'm so confused. Oh my gosh, who was it that they kept? I think they were like, no, I can't even remember, because it was like, first of all, they kept name dropping like philosophers, and I was like, whomst. And then second of all, they also kept like using German words for some reason. They loved dropping their German words, and I'm sat there like, I don't know what these words mean. Can we just talk in like the rest of your presentations in English? Can, like, if you're gonna use a word that isn't English, like at least explain what it means. Like, I don't know. It was very strange. But then psychology probably has a lot of interesting quirks as well. Freud's influence strong, yeah. Weirdly, Freud didn't actually come up that much, which kind of surprised me. Yeah, no, it was more just a bunch of people that I've never heard of. And I probably should have heard of based on how they were talking about them. But, you know, it's fine. Every now and then you kind of, I don't know, every now and then I've been in some kind of academic space and I'm like, oh, like, this is what they mean when they say academia is really pretentious. Because I'm very lucky. My research group, and also just my kind of whole field in general, it's very like chill. Like there's a big kind of focus on like trying to be a bit more interdisciplinary and trying to, you know, talk to people that are working on the ground doing certain things, you know, like working for charities and stuff like that. There's a lot of like encouragement of collaboration like that. So I think most people just are kind of just down to earth, like they just talk normally. They don't use big fancy words like that. So whenever I'm thrown into an academic setting where that's the norm, I'm like, whoa, like what is going on? I'm confused and I'm scared and I don't like it, and it's giving me large amounts of fear. But yeah, otherwise it's yeah. Sean equals clout. Very true. You know what? I kind of want to know who Sean is now. Let's find out. What was it? Sean's. Oh wait, there's a mention of Sean here. Reflective practitioner model of behaviour? Let's find out. Let's find out, because I think this is probably important context. Reflective practitioner model shown. Oh, it's actually like Schön with like the umlaut. So it's not Sean. So it seems like it's just a way to like reflect about an experience. So you're thinking about what happened, how you were thinking about it when it happened, and how you're thinking about it afterwards, and seeing how that compares. So you're kind of trying to see all angles of what actually happened, and then you're like, okay, looking back, what has changed? What would I do differently? And then what new information has been gained? So it's just kind of a general reflective practice kind of thing by the sounds of it. Like that's used a lot in so reflective practice is like a thing that we use a lot in psychology. It's basically just this idea that like if you have some kind of experience that's influencing how you think about like a situation or a topic, then you should think about how like the influences on your thinking. So it's basically like meta thinking. It's pretty wild when you actually sit down and think about it, which I suppose is meta thinking. But yeah, no, it's something we use quite a lot. I've never learned any specific models of it, or if I have, then I didn't remember the names. But okay, so it sounds like it's trying to promote thinking around thinking, if that makes sense, which would add up. That adds up. Okay, right. Anyway, let's see what they say. So, the aim of the work described here was to develop a game harnessing game-based learning principles to strengthen critical thinking skills and dispositions in the context of the discipline of history. So, have they just jumped into this without... Do they actually define game-based learning? I don't know if they do. Game-based learning is just learning through games. That's it. It's just using gaming, as in it can be either video games or board games, but using that as a medium to teach something, basically. Hi, Lord Tubazo. How are you doing? I hope you're good. We are today talking about a paper about text-based games. Very exciting. Yeah. Okay, so the experience shared in this report makes two contributions to the existing literature on game-based learning. The first crucial differentiator is the employment of the reflective practitioner model of behaviour, Schön, 1984, in the context of game-based learning. Wait, game-based learning-based. Oh my gosh, these. Are you seeing this? There's like a double. What's the word again? Oh no, I've forgotten the word. What's the word for when you like condense it down into letters? No, it's gone. It's gone. I can't remember. But there's two of them at once. Abbreviation. That's the one. Thank you. Yeah, there's two abbreviations in a sentence, and I can already tell that's gonna keep throwing me off really badly. Okay, we'll do our best. Freddy Fish and Put. What? What is that? Tell me. I'm confused. I don't know things. I'm not very cultured. I basically just didn't experience anything for like 10 years while I was studying. I watched like, I don't know, maybe the equivalent of like 15 days of anime, and that was all of my information input apart from like research papers. Those are learning games for kids. Oh, okay. I did not know that. The only learning game that I know is like, well, I don't actually know it. No, when I was younger, we had this like subscription for a website that taught us maths, but I can't remember what it was. A lot of millennials grew up with them. I think we probably had different ones in the UK. What was the one that we had? We had this like really cursed game-based maths platform. It was like very traumatic. Let's see, UK game maths website. Math Blaster. No, it wasn't that. Nothing is coming up on Google, which I instantly... No, wait. Wait. I might remember. Okay, it was my maths. Oh, it was cursed. It was awful. I hated it. It wasn't even like, it wasn't actually like properly game based actually, now I think about it. It was more like gamified maths. But yeah, it was interesting. And it didn't actually teach me any maths. So yeah, cool maths games. Well, that's a thing. Amazing. I want to play some math games. Should we play some math games on stream at some point? I'm really bad at maths. I think we should do that. That'd be funny. I wonder if there's any psychology games actually. As in like actually psychological games. I found one on Steam that's like a personality test allegedly, but I don't trust it. I feel like it might be the Myers-Briggs indicator nonsense. Calculus stream when? Literally. Actually, maybe. You can teach me it. I can't do maths and I need emotional support with these things. I don't even know what calculus is. Husbando Mod has explained to me about 7 times what calculus is, and I never remember. I can't remember. I don't know what it is. Numbers do something. That's all I got. Myers-Briggs roast stream when? Honestly, it's like on the top of my list. Don't even get me started. And the worst part is that like every time that I talk to somebody, like we have actual students on my course that turn up, not on my PhD course, like that I teach. They turn up and they're like, okay, so Myers-Briggs, what's your MBTI? And I'm like, oh, here we go. Now I have to do the whole, oh, it's actually trash. Don't use typographic systems. They're not good. Use spectrums instead because that's how things should be measured. And then they're like, oh, that's such an INTP thing for you to say, miss. I'm like, okay, you do you. Sad. No, sad. Don't be sad. We will learn the calculus one day. One day I will learn what calculus is and we will learn it and I will be able to do things. I mean, I've got a tablet. I can do maths on my tablet, probably. That seems... Oh, no! Ah! It's all going wrong. Okay, wait. I have not planned out something. I will be back in 1 second. I'll be back. Please bear with me. Okay, it's not scuff. It's not scuff. This stream is not scuffed. These things are never scuffed. I'm right. Pretend that didn't happen. Okay. No, I'll be honest. I have like a medication alarm at 7:30 and every single time before the stream because it's the stream starts at 6 normally when I'm on time. And I'm always like, okay, lay the thing out on my desk. I'm ready. But then like, I was like late getting back home today. I forgot And I had to run and take my medicine. So yeah, apologies for that. Apologies for that. It wasn't scuff. It was planned intermission, I suppose. What are we talking about again? I've forgotten. Anyway, paper. Convenient. Okay. Right. No, actually, what were we talking about? I've forgotten. Right. The experience shared in this report makes 2 contributions. Okay, yeah, we read that. So they're employing reflective practitioner model of behaviour, whatever that is, in the context of a game-based learning-based critical thinking intervention. I did it. The insight shown brings is that because practitioners learn by drawing on previous experience, then a game explicitly designed to boost critical thinking skills and dispositions in a practitioner could form part of that experience. Okay. Yes. I mean, I have no comment on that. I have no comment. Okay. Second is a key theoretical link between the idea of internal motivation, as expressed by Malone, 1980, as a factor of which encourages people to play games, and the idea of motivation as a set of consistent internal behaviours described by Fazione, 2000, in the context of developing critical thinking skills. Most academic work which discusses game-based learning and critical thinking together highlights the advantages games offer to skills development, but somewhat neglect the equally important side of critical thinking dispositions. Okay, so okay, just outright, I feel like this is already like a different type of language to what I'm used to reading in a paper, and it's not like difficult, but it's just like throwing me off slightly, which is really interesting. Like psychology papers have a very set like rhythm to them, I guess. This one is a little bit more I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It feels less like they've written out a series of like empirical bullet points and then they're connecting them together, and it feels more like they're just writing. That probably doesn't make any sense, but like it's not unstructured or anything. It just has a different vibe. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Very strange. Yeah. So people have got internal motivation to encourage them to play games, and that stems from a set of consistent, or rather it reflects consistent internal behaviors. So behaviors, what is an internal behavior? What is that? I don't know. Right, we're looking up something again. Internal behaviors. Actually, I'll just go to the reference. That's probably easier, isn't it? What's the reference? Where are you? Fazione. Oh, it's a book. I can't. Okay. Statement of expert consensus for purposes of educational assessment and instruction. Okay, I don't know what that is. What is an internal behavior? Let's go find out. Google time again. Internal behavior. My typing is quite aggressive. I apologise. This doesn't tell me much. This doesn't tell me anything. Okay. The top results told me nothing. So, let's see. What can I find? What is an internal behaviour? Let's see what ChatGPT thinks. This is always a good idea, isn't it? What is an internal behaviour as described by Fazione? What was the date? 2000? Oh no, I've got too many things open. Yeah, 2000. I just realised I could have just looked at my stream preview and found out. Right, okay. Important point I want to make here. If you're asking like a question like that, ChatGPT or Bing or whatever, they can be helpful. However, you cannot, if you are writing anything, you cannot copy and paste it, okay? It's a summary that you must use to then go off and do your own reading and understand things if you're going to be writing anything. Here we're just trying to get a general grasp of what the idea is, so it's okay to use it. But yeah, don't rely on it because sometimes it's just wrong. In fact, quite regularly with scientific things, it's just wrong. But yeah, if you need a very quick summary based on the top results, then it can be helpful. An internal behaviour, as described by Fazioli 2000, refers to the consistent internal motivation to think. It's a disposition that is hypothesized to be positively correlated with skill in critical thinking. Okay. Cool. It's kind of nutty that the reference doesn't contain the word internal behaviour. I know. I don't understand what's going on there. I still don't entirely understand it. Like, consistent internal motivation to think. So, yeah, okay. So it's like an intrinsic motivation to think about things. So, like a disposition towards thinking about things. I wonder if it's an issue of translation. It's not an issue of translation because these people are from Scotland. So, actually, yeah, no. I assumed that they're from Scotland because it said Glasgow. They're from, one of them I think is not, one of them I think is, based on the names. But still, like, yeah, it might be a translation thing, but given that they just haven't really described it at all, I don't know. But apparently internal behaviour is like a term in education research. Yeah, it's the consistent internal motivation to think. So I swear that we have another word for exactly the same thing in social psychology, and I cannot remember what it is. Need for cognition, maybe? It might be need for cognition. Wait, need for cognition. Need for cognition has been variously defined as a need to structure relevant situations in meaningful integrated ways, and a need to understand and make reasonable the experiment. Okay, no, that's something different. Okay, so what actually is it? Oh, I don't know anymore. I'm so confused. My brain is shutting down. Those with a high need for cognition might be inclined towards high elaboration in terms of the dual process model. Oh gosh. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I think, based on what this says, it sounds like internal behaviour and need for cognition they're not exactly the same, but they're roughly equivalent. So yeah. So they're both kind of around wanting to think about things. Wanting to reason, I guess. Which makes sense because they've said that it's a dispositional trait that affects critical thinking. That adds up. So, yeah. So, they're also talking about the idea that people are internally motivated to play games. Cool. That makes sense based on personal experience. Most academic work that discusses game-based learning and critical thinking together highlights the advantages games offer to skills development, but somewhat neglect the equally important side of critical thinking dispositions. Okay, yeah, so they're looking at like individual differences in the tendency to be able to think critically, I guess. I feel like there's much nicer ways that they could have phrased that, but maybe that's just me. Okay, right. Class. How confused are we right now? Because if I'm feeling confused, I really want to know what all of you are thinking, because I don't know what's going on here. And I want to know if you're as confused as I am. But I think we can work through this. I think they are looking at individual differences in how much somebody wants to think critically or is able to, possibly. How motivated they are to think critically about things. Very confused. Okay, I'm glad it's not just me. I'm glad it's not just me, Talaran. Okay, yeah. So maybe if we actually... I feel like this is one of the times where I need to be able to draw something out. to try and understand it. And I do not know. You know what, actually, let's keep reading the paper and see if it starts to make a bit more sense. What I will do is... It seems like a bit of a weird way to structure the argument. Yeah, I'm thinking that too. It kind of just says, like... Yeah, I feel like they should have talked about the internal motivation stuff and then the reflective practitioner model, because it's like if the dispositional bit is something we already kind of roughly know, then they could have said different people have different tendencies to think critically about things, and then game-based learning can facilitate the development of that as a skill, and then on top of that we're using reflective practitioner model to reinforce those behaviours or something like that. It feels like they've kind of done it the wrong way around. It might have been more effective to just say game fun, but also game smart. Very true. And I think that should have actually been the title. I think that they should get rid of this whole like game-based design critical thinking thing. Just say game fun, but also game smart. Okay. Right. The challenges of teaching critical thinking. Before we even go into this, I just want to say, I know the challenges of teaching critical thinking. It is so painful. Like, it's so frustrating because, everybody can think critically to some extent, and more often than not, in my experience, it's not even a case of they can't do it. It's that they've never been told, first of all, it's a skill that you can build up, and second of all, that you have the ability to do it. And it kind of makes people feel very like self-conscious. But with critical thinking, from my experience anyway, really the only way that, well, not the only way, but one of the best ways to develop it is to just like talk about things. So, for example, if you read something and then talk about it with somebody else, like, because you get feedback on how you're thinking about things and they offer a different perspective. Because every single person, your experiences are all slightly different, and we do have tendencies towards the same cognitive biases. So we have a tendency to kind of filter information in certain ways, but that branches off according to your experiences and, you know, how you've lived in the world. So if you're hearing different perspectives on the same thing, that in itself can be super, super helpful and start to make you question your own thinking. And I think that's like the first step. But a lot of, well, in my experience anyway, a lot of people, like, they come to university and they've just never done it before because the British school system is just basically force feeding, which I have complained before in a large amount of detail, so I won't go on that rant again. But yeah, I think we equate critical thinking with being smart, when in reality it's just another tool in your toolkit, like thinking artistically. Exactly. That's exactly what I think too. Like, yeah, is this kind of narrative that, like, oh yeah, only smart people do critical thinking, and it's like, no, we can all do it. It is a thing that you should be using, not a thing that you can just naturally do. I do think it is very similar to art in that way, actually. I think you're onto something there, because art is also a skill that, okay, there's like natural variation in your starting position, but everybody has the ability to build off that starting position. It's just a case of having the chances to do it, like having the opportunities to build it. Yeah, I think critical thinking is probably largely the same. So yeah, but let's see what they say, because they're talking about dispositions, and that's interesting to me. Okay, so there is an abundant literature on the importance of critical thinking. Hunt, 1995, argued that the global economy has entered a new phase which required a new kind of worker, the knowledge worker. That's me. I'm a knowledge worker. I don't have any knowledge though. Sad. Who would be capable of manipulating abstract and complex symbols and ideas, and could remain flexible enough to recognise the need for continuing change. Oh my goodness! Hello, Horatius, and all of the dwarves that are following you. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. I hope you're all doing good. How was the stream, Horatius? Are you inching closer to partner? I hope you are. I hope you're getting there. Yeah, welcome in. Hi, everybody. Oh gosh, there's actually too many of you for me to keep up with it. Hello, Ensawa. Hello, Kisa Satoma. Corey. Elfin. I'm glad it was wonderful. I'm so glad. And Cabus, thank you so much for joining us. We're reading a paper today about a historical text-based game designed to develop critical thinking skills. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, I'm a psychologist. I'm currently finishing up my PhD in psychology, and I do science things on stream, or at least as scientific as we can get, because I am a social psychologist, and lots of people like to say you're not real STEM, so which is something that is a bit of a personal annoyance for me. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you for the follow, Akami, Corey, Emperor Wisteria, and Kisa Satoma. Thank you so much. You're getting the doctorate? Yeah, I am. Well, in theory, I should be getting the doctorate. I've still got a little bit of time left to go. I'm in like my thesis phase at the minute, so I'm using streaming to like, first of all, read papers that I should really be reading for my thesis. Sweats nervously. But also just so that I can have a bit of a hobby that gets me through it, because thesis is very like you're hyper fixated on one specific topic and it doesn't end. And I want to read a little bit more broadly, and I want to think about things a little bit more broadly. I don't want to get too absorbed into it. Thank you very much. But yeah, where were we with the paper? You know what? All of the raiders, you've not really missed that much. We would have basically spent 40 minutes talking about this introduction section that none of us understand. So we're just starting to talk about the challenges of teaching critical thinking. And yeah, it's something that I very much feel there is a lot of pain in teaching critical thinking, even though everybody can do it. Being a psychologist, you'll have the professional credentials to tell all those STEM gatekeepers that they're wrong. That is so true. Very, very true. Also, yeah, I kind of work in like so I have a job alongside my PhD, and it's a bit more like interdisciplinary. So I'm interacting with people from lots of different fields, and they're pretty much mostly STEM fields. You know, like biological and like physics, and nobody has ever questioned my STEM status in my professional life. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's all very strange. Every time that I've ever spoken to like a STEM gatekeeper, they're always like maybe an undergraduate student if they've even got to uni yet. Like professionals don't think like that. We value each other's expertise. And like also in science, interdisciplinary work is really common. Like even in my, daily life, I interact with people in the computer science department. I interact with people in the biology department. So yeah, I don't know. It's a very strange thing. I can't relate to it personally. I don't like. Sometimes I like meme. I'll be like, ha ha ha. Social science. Am I right? But no, I think we deserve a lot more credit than we get. Frankly, it makes me sad. Okie dokie. Oh, and hi Tayu. Hello. I hope you're doing good. So, the challenges of teaching critical thinking. So, Hunt argued that the global economy had entered a new phase which required a new kind of worker, the knowledge worker, who would be capable of manipulating abstract and complex symbols and ideas and could remain flexible enough to recognize the need for continuing change. As a result of surging global demand for the knowledge worker, any country which wished to remain competitive in the global marketplace would need to reform its education system to emphasize critical thinking. That combination of skills and attitude that would form the knowledge worker. Okay, so knowledge workers. I love that. That's such a cool phrase. Thank you for the follow. Is it Hod 99? And Roddy Jess. Thank you. Okay. You're not? Oh, I'm sorry, Tayu. I hope you feel better soon. I am vibing. I'm surviving. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, and I hope that we can bring a little bit of brightness into your day with my extremely over vibrant background. at least. Okay, so 2 decades later, Western educators continue to emphasize the importance of critical thinking for the success of the next generation and lament current institutional barriers to teaching it. Yeah. This is just me. Like, all of those times that I've complained about, like, the UK education system just force feeding people facts that they have to regurgitate, that in itself, that's just a sentence that summarizes all of my complaints. It is, yeah. There's a lot of barriers. Systems are very, very slow to change. Education, it can change, but honestly, in my experience, it's one of the slower ones. So yeah, it takes a while. Thank you for the follow, Axel. Welcome in. A psychologist, yes. Save my brain. I can't. I'm sorry. I am very much squarely in the social identity kind of psychologist. I am not a brain psychologist. I've never actually no. I was about to say I've never even seen a brain, but that's not even true. I have actually seen quite a few brains. Some of them may or may not have been human. Anyway, Halpin, 1998, noted that an absence of the critical thinking has also negative repercussions for people in their personal lives, not just their career. Yeah, this is all very like, I know this is like an education paper, but already it's kind of just talking about careers. But quite rightly, Halpin pointed out it's not just careers, it actually helps in general. Save my social life? Maybe. I might be able to do that. I could probably help with that a little bit more. Social, no idea what that is. That is fine. Social psychology is basically a branch of psychology that looks at how people think about themselves and others in terms of social interactions. So, for example, a social psychologist might research what happens if you put two people in a room and get them to talk to each other and kind of make them feel various things, because you can do some really interesting things to people in the lab. Some of them possibly, less savory than others. But yeah, you can put them in a lab and see how they interact, or you can ask them questions or give them a questionnaire to see how they think about themselves or other people. That's all kind of like individual. You can also do it on like a group level, and that's more where my training is. What we call kind of, yeah, social identity theory. It's thinking about how people's identities are influenced by the social groups that they're part of, and then also how those social groups interacting can affect how they think about other people. So things like, if you, I'm a VTuber, right? Imagine if I really hate like IRL cam streamers, right? Imagine that. You are. So that means I have a strong social identity of being a VTuber, and they have a social identity of being a flesh tuber. Ugh, disgusting. And that is an intergroup interaction. And so if I meet somebody that is a facecam streamer and I'm like, oh, hello, my kind of like instant reaction is to stereotype them and be like, oh, I don't like you because you're a person. Weird. Couldn't be me. So yeah. What was that face? It's the smog emoji. How can you not recognize it? It's my favorite emoji. Sounds like the people that I read all the data they take from me as I interact with my AI girlfriend and friends. Literally me when I'm watching Neurosummer. Literally me. My AI girlfriend. A flesh tuber, yes. I can't remember who came up with that word, but it's like my favourite thing ever. It's so funny. So are VTubers just those who have realised the weakness of their flesh? I think so. I think I have transcended beyond the need for human flesh. I am just a brain in an anime girl. I'm connected up. The wires are connected up. This isn't even face tracking. I'm just simulating it with my brain. True story. Neuro raid when? No, never. That would never happen. I can't wait until we put AI into a robot. Yeah, that'll go well. I've definitely never seen any horror films about that. Yes, we did raid onto Neuro during the subathon. We did indeed, but back though, no, it's not going to happen. Serial Experiments Lane, watch along when. Oh my gosh, I would love to. Seriously, I would love to. Right, to my shame, to my absolute shame, I have never watched Serial Experiments Lane. It is, yeah. It is one of those anime that I know is exactly up my street. You love it? Okay. Oh, it's one of those anime I know that is exactly the kind of thing I would love, and I've just never got round to watching it. It's so frustrating, but I will. I will watch it at some point. I will. Okay, right. So let's stop getting distracted by anime. We need to finish this. We need to finish this paper. We can't keep getting distracted. This happens every time. Okay. Where were we actually? I've forgotten. Okay. As a result of surging demand for the knowledge worker, any country which wished to remain competitive in the global marketplace would need to reform its... Whoa. That was aggressive. It needs to reform its education system to emphasise critical thinking and that combination of skills and attitude that would form the knowledge worker. Western education hasn't done it. Critical thinking is relevant for more than just careers. A substantial part of the American population, Halpin pointed out, spent more money than they could afford to do so on psychics and pseudoscientific remedies. This has not appeared to improve substantially in the past 2 decades. McLaughlin and McKill note that belief in pseudo-historical narratives around ancient civilizations, such as the Maya, can negatively impact the well-being of their contemporary descendants. Ooh, I wasn't expecting conspiracy theories to be in this paper. Interesting. Conspiracy theories have been part and parcel of American political discourse for several years now, with potentially dire implications for the health of its democracy. Thus, the difficulty of teaching critical thinking appears to be pervasive. There we go. We got there eventually. It appears to be a pervasive problem. Oh my gosh. They did not read that out loud when they wrote that. With global reach and sufficiently complex to continue challenge educators. Okay, amazing. I go to my witch doctor every Friday. Same. Actually, soon I'm gonna be a doctor, so I can just make up my own weird remedies. Amazing. You can all just come to me for your strange witch doctor requirements. So, okay. Right. Summary of that whole section. So, critical thinking is very important in an economy which rewards knowledge and, ways of sharing knowledge over actual physical objects. And it also helps in your personal life. For example, you don't go and ingest strange things in order to try and cure your tuberculosis. I think that's a fair summary, right? I think that's a fair summary. Yeah. I find that quite interesting because this kind of thing would have been not really relevant as much, I think, if it wasn't for, the technological changes that have happened in the last 50 years, especially because the stock market developing into a thing, and then also the internet, meaning that we can share knowledge really easily. I think those are really what have predated the need for knowledge workers. And knowledge worker, that's just a general word for basically anybody that does anything that requires thinking, right? So me as a researcher, I'm a knowledge worker, but also so's my accountant, and so's my lawyer, and so are teachers, and so are the consultants at big consultancy companies that sit and write reports about stuff. They're all knowledge workers. So 10 out of 10. Thank you. Thank you. My witch doctor would argue that he gives me strange liquids all the time. Yes, I love it when my witch doctor gives me a strange liquid and I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's fine. It's a potion. It's fine. It's fine. I consent to be researched. Well, I have good news for you. I am desperate for participants because the government will not give me any money. Please take part in my research. I have been suffering for 4 years and my PhD will not end, and I am desperate. Please take part in my research. I'm literally desperate. I can't give you money, but you'll have my eternal gratitude. Hello, Chili. I'm Chilean now. Is that it? Hello, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Okay, right. So, witch doctors aside. um, okay, in a comprehensive literature review of the major academic contributions to the subject of critical thinking, I'm going to keep getting really confused because now they've said conspiracy theories and my brain's going to default CT to mean conspiracy theories because I love conspiracy theories so much. Hydrate and posture check. Ooh, thank you, M0. Okay, right. Where's my water? I've got tea and water today. I'm so prepared. I'm so proud of myself. And yet I didn't manage to, like, not have an alarm go off half an hour into the stream. Thank you, thank you. I am now. Actually, you know what? I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more. There we go, there we go. Okay. In a comprehensive literature review of the major academic contributions to the subject of critical thinking, Lai describes 3 areas of agreement among scholars of different contributing fields. First, that critical thinking has a skill component. Okay. These are abilities such as analysis, inference, evaluation, and problem solving. Second, critical thinking has a dispositional or attitudinal component. So, critical thinking dispositions are consistent internal motivations to act towards or respond to persons, events, or circumstances in habitual yet potentially malleable ways. Okay, interesting. And include traits like open and fair-mindedness, inquisitiveness, and the desire to be well-informed. Finally, there is agreement on the fact that background knowledge is a prerequisite for effectively employing critical thinking. This is because the evidence, reasoning, and explanations that are considered to be examples of critical thinking are domain-specific. Cool. Okay. Leaves or bags? Huh? What does that mean? Is that something that we were talking about and I've already forgotten? I've got, like, very bad memory. I can't even remember where I am in the paper when I stopped talking about it for 3 minutes. Oh no, that means I'm a critical thinker. I have failed society. Yes, I am. I too am I am also a critical thinking enjoyer. No, we have not failed society. We have overcome society. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight this whole bit because I probably need that to come back to and remember. Okay, so it sounds like I was worried that the dispositional bit was going to be like, oh, some people are just naturally better at it. But it sounds like it's very much more around motivation than anything else. So whether you've got like the drive, I guess, the drive to think about things in a more flexible way than the average person, I guess. Although that in itself is like a confusing statement because what is the average? I don't know. And it says it includes traits like open and fair-mindedness, inquisitiveness, and the desire to be well-informed. But like to me, open and fair-mindedness and inquisitiveness kind of just fall into the same personality trait, which research psychologists, we tend to use the Big 5 measure of personality. So it's like openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Those are all words that probably mean nothing to all of you unless you're also somewhat psychologically trained. But out of all of those, openness to experience, that just kind of means like the tendency to want to learn new things and to experience new things, like enjoying experiencing music, art, science, everything, places, nature, whatever, internet, everything. You just want to learn new things. You want to see new things. But inquisitiveness is kind of like a facet of that from what I remember. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of saying the same things over and over to me. Although the desire to be well informed, I would say that that's a bit of conscientiousness, which is like how not quite well, I guess organized is kind of the right way to describe it, like how organized you are as opposed to just like casual laissez-faire all over the place. like me. Yeah, it's all about being hungry for more understanding. Yes, exactly. And critical thinking, I would say, is a combination of that and then the ability to actually identify what are the right sources to inform your understanding, I guess, which is probably the abilities part that they're talking about. Yes, and apply it exactly. Are the big five considered to be somewhat plastic? Um, Within the person or in general? Um, the answer to both questions is yes. So the thing with personality is that it's not like a set thing. It's not like you wake up and you are like 25% extroverted and that's all you ever be. Like, it's personality describes a tendency to behave in a certain way. It's not fixed. So the expectation is that like there would be variance, even just like, hour to hour, situation to situation. So like I guess I'll take me as an example. Like when I'm teaching, I'm a lot less extroverted than I am when I'm on stream. Because, like, I don't know, I enjoy talking to chat more than I enjoy talking to other academics. No, that's not true. That's not true. I enjoy talking to my colleagues, and I also enjoy talking to my students. But I find it a bit easier talking to people in person. I don't know. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes. So I probably come across as more introverted, and that is definitely a tendency. But then if I'm in a group of people that I know for a fact are all interested in the same thing, then I'm more like what I am when I'm streaming. Um, so yeah, I've been to like meetups for my specific research area, and we just talk and talk and talk and talk, and it's great. And then like if I'm meeting up with friends that if I'm meeting up with friends at an anime convention, it's the same thing. We just vibe, we talk, it's all good. I'm being myself. But then, yeah, certain situations I'm a bit more introverted. Every situation is different for me. That's interesting. See, I wonder if there is like whether there's like another trait underlying it, which is like how, not how stable the personality is, because that's not like statistically that's not what I mean, but like in lay terms that's not what I mean. What do I mean? I mean like whether there is like some kind of trait in people, be it like I don't know, like just a pre-existing trait or something that's socialized into us, which like kind of affects how much you deviate from your natural personality position, depending on the situation you're in. That I would love to know. I don't actually know. And I think it would be super interesting to find that out. But that is not what we're talking about today, actually, is it? That might, honestly, like, I should probably just do an entire lecture thing about personality. Like, I know I've complained about bad personality tests on stream before, and I've kind of talked about it because it's a fairly common topic in psychology, but yeah, I should probably do like an actual thing about it so that everybody has at least a primer on it, because there's so much I could talk about. It's very, very interesting to me. Okay, I need some tea. Okay, right. The interplay between these three components, so what were the three components again? Skill, disposition, or attitudinal, and background knowledge. Okay, skill, attitude, background knowledge. Got it. Okay. The interplay between those three components is what makes teaching critical thinking so challenging. That's the only. I hope I'm saying that right. Notes that having critical thinking skills does not correlate with a disposition towards applying critical thinking. Oh, okay, interesting. Although there is a correlation between disposition and proficiency. Okay, so just because somebody has the ability to do critical thinking doesn't mean that they actually do it, is basically what it says. Which, yeah, adds up. Because the amount of times that I've been teaching students, and they're clearly very good at it, and they just don't. Yeah. Although I don't. I feel like they're talking about attitude, and I wonder if, like, Uh, you know when you use a word all the time and then you just forget what the word is? That's happening to me a lot tonight. Um, Confidence. Yes, that's the word. Confidence. I wonder if confidence plays a role too, because we see that a lot in maths. So, like, we have to teach statistics in psychology, and there is a lot of people who are very, very good at it, and they just think that they can't. So they just don't, and they just avoid it. Frankly, I'm probably one of those people, to be honest. I'm probably one of those people, but, you know, I wonder if that's the same thing. Personality tests only work with people without much of a personality. It depends on the test, to be fair. It does depend on the test. Most of the ones that you find online are just. They might as well be giving you a random answer. Like, yeah, they every now and then they will tap into like one personality trait, but then they ignore all of the rest of them, or they give a really like two-dimensional assessment. Um, yeah, you know, like how in like anime, like there's really distinct tropes a lot of the time. It's like putting people into tropes rather than actually building up the whole character around them. It kind of reminds me of that. It's like, what trope do you fit in? And then the trope explains like, I don't know, 10% of your personality, and there's a lot more going on. Two-dimensional interesting. See, I'm at the point in my life where I find two-dimensional really not interesting. I want three-dimensional. I want fully developed and fleshed out. Um, but it's easy to understand, isn't it? You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think. And that's completely fair because, like, you know, after a day of work, I'm also like, I do not want a single thought in my head. So I get why that's popular. I do get it. But it would be nice to have a bit more diversity in traits that go together rather than just like, oh, look, they're introverted and, you know, they're not very social. And they also enjoy studying really hard and they're very organized and they're also, I don't know, they're also very open to new things. They like learning. Yes. And it's like, okay, can we have a bit more of a mix up, please? Can we have more people like me that are like, in theory, like meant to be good at things, but then like horribly disorganized? Even though I think I'm actually just average, I just put in too many hours, but you know. Anime is kind of interesting in that regard. The heavy trope means that people are easier to classify in a squad. Naruto's is the loudest one. Shikamaru's the smart one. Oh, Naruto is. You know what? I read that as Naruto as a series rather than the person. Naruto is the loud one. Shikamaru's the smart one. Rock Lee is the hardworking one. Identifying as a member of a squad can be quite comforting, at least from a wish fulfillment kind of angle. Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's just easier writing. I think, to be honest, rather than anything else, it's probably just a case of easier writing more than anything else. Um, I guess when there's a squad like that, probably even if you don't fully identify with them, like when they're contrasting each other like that, they probably like it's probably easier to hone in onto a specific character that you identify with, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think it's probably a well established writing trick for a reason. I am terribly sorry. I have started having a slightly sore throat, which is a concerning sign. um, when I'm trying to talk about things and then my throat is like, no, we're not doing that. Come on. We're fine. We're good. I'm hydrated. I'm moisturized. I'm thriving. Okay, right. So, the interplay between these components is what makes teaching critical thinking so challenging. Fatsy only notes that having critical thinking skills does not correlate with a disposition towards applying critical thinking, although there is a correlation between disposition and proficiency with critical thinking skills. Attention must be paid to those. Oh, wait, no. Attention must be paid to both for there to be an improvement in students. So you need both disposition and you need proficiency. Cool. Furthermore, Willingham highlights that once students have been trained to think critically in one domain, they do not automatically do so in others. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true from my experience, to be honest. Even within the same broad domain, such as mathematics or history, if students are taught to apply critical thinking to one specific type of problem and then encounter a problem of a different type, there is no guarantee that critical thinking skills will transfer over to the new problem. We see this a lot actually in psychology, because critical thinking lends itself most naturally to research methods courses. So you're learning about how to do research, but part of that is looking at other people's research and seeing what they could have done better. So people will learn how to like pick apart a paper really, really thoroughly, but then they won't be able to like look at an argument and do the same thing to it. They won't be able to like apply it to like a broader concept. It's very stressful. If they aren't interested, they aren't interested. That is true. You can't force people to be interested. But if people are interested, then hopefully we can encourage them to apply the skills that they have across multiple domains. I wonder if this paper actually finds anything in that regard. Let's see, let's see. Okay. Even within the same broad domain, such as mathematics or history, if students are taught to apply critical thinking to one specific type of problem and then encounter a problem of a different type, oh, I already read that, didn't I? The importance of domain knowledge is such that the most effective critical thinking interventions are those where it is taught in the context of a specific discipline and observation supported by life. Okay, so there's a bit of a catch-22 there, isn't there? Because like you need the domain knowledge to be able to thoroughly teach critical thinking skills, but then if you teach it too embedded into one domain, then they can't generalize it out. Yeah, that seems like it could be a bit of a circular problem. I never struggled with anything I was interested in, so I wouldn't know. Yeah, same to be honest. Although I feel like a kind of underrated thing is to like, if you have to learn something that you really don't want to learn, or you have to do something you really don't want to do, I feel like a good way to get around that is to like think about it in terms of what you are interested in. So like, I mean, that's kind of my. So when I'm not doing just like these journal clubs, I'm trying to like censor what I'm talking about around anime content because I like anime. I have apparently, according to my anime list, I have spent a month of my life watching anime. Um, and the way that I taught myself stats when I was doing my masters was to link it back to things in anime. So like I'd be like, oh yeah, um, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Let's see if, say, if you wanted to learn about correlation, we would, I'd be like, oh look, here's correlation, here's how you do it, but like applied to if you were measuring the strength of somebody's ESPA skills in in like a certain scientific railgun with their skill or that rather their score on the ESPA test that they have in that. So yeah, that's like, and then I would go through like the actual stats and teach myself it in relation to that example, and that would get me interested in it. That was a terrible example though because I didn't even learn correlation at masters. Like that was a bachelor's thing. But it's fine. Critical thinking just happened naturally for me. It's a bit odd to me that it's a teachable skill. I think some people probably pick it up partially on the basis of what they are interested in. So I think I was probably the same, but that's mostly just because I was watching and reading and listening to things which encouraged critical thinking or which gave me different perspectives. Whereas, like, if you're just like, I mean, if you've just been brought up to just like come home and watch, I don't know, like just watch whatever's on TV, like soap operas or something like that, then maybe there would be less of that inclination. Yeah, it's interesting that they're talking about it in a dispositional way. I think that makes sense. Like, you can see the differences between people that have that natural inclination to go out and learn things and think about things versus the people that don't. But then socialization definitely plays on top of that. Lace Levy, thank you so much for the raid. Hello, welcome in. I hope you had a good stream. What were you doing? What were you doing? Tell me. Hello, hi. Yeah, I hope you're doing good. If you need to get up and go and have a walk around and go and eat something and get something to drink, please do. And thank you for the follow, Yvette. Yvette Thanatos. Thank you. Hi everybody. I am a psychology PhD student, and a VTuber, as you can probably see. And I like to talk about psychology things on stream, and sometimes I even link them back to anime when I'm feeling like it, but not today. Today we're learning about a video game that these people have developed, a text-based video game. And apparently it can, well, it might be able to, we don't know yet, we've not got to the results, but it might be able to increase people's critical thinking. Sounds very cool. Thank you. I played Lethal Company with my gen mates. One of them recommended me to raid into you. No way! That's so cool. Who was your gen mate? Tell me. That's so nice. I love that. And I love Lethal Company. Oh my gosh. There are so many amazing moments that come out of watching Lethal Company streams. I have never played it myself. I probably should at some point. Hexa Wolfbite. Oh my gosh, so nice. Hello. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Have fun with the paper. I'm peacing out. Oh, the reagents are here. Thank you for joining us, Fi. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope it goes well. Oh, yeah. So, the paper. So, what we've learned so far is that critical thinking is a mixture of somebody's kind of natural tendency to want to go out and learn things and think about things. It is partially, what was the other things? I've already forgotten what the three were. It's partially a skill that you can learn. And then it's also partially based on what you already know about a topic that you're thinking critically about. I agree with you. Sadly, I didn't go down the academic route. I went into money right away through the trades. Always been a regret of mine. You can always go back. I have a lot of, well, it's kind of rude, but they're called I'm saying this in quotation marks, mature students. They're actually pretty common. If you can find a way to get your tuition covered, which honestly sometimes there's scholarships specifically for that. But yeah, it's possible. It's possible. So don't rule it out. Never say never. You can always shift gears. And actually, I know somebody who is doing a second PhD, which is absolutely wild to me. So you can even shift gears if you're already an academic. This person, I think, originally did history or language or something like that, something in the humanities, and has now pivoted into the harder STEM side of psychology, which is definitely a shift, but very cool. Although I'm not sure how to refer to them in the future. I guess they'll be Doctor. Yeah. Okay, so the interplay between these three components, we have already said all of this. Okay, interplay, important. You need all of them, basically. You need a mixture. You need a mixture of somebody being motivated to go out and read the thing. You need to have the skills to be able to do it, and you also need to have enough background knowledge to be able to identify the right thing. That was a terribly vague summary, but I'm going with it. It's fine. I'm going with it. Okay, right. Excuse me gulping down my tea like an absolute mess. What can I say? I am British. Okay, critical thinking in the domain of history. This is getting very interesting because I know nothing about history education. I don't know what they do. I do not know what they do over there. My entire conception of history degree is that they sit there and read a lot of very old books and then pull together bits of information from all of them. I guess kind of like a literature review for psychologists, but except for us, we review papers, which are very structured. We just skip down to the results and copy that bit. I think they would have to copy out notes from all sorts of things and actually think about it, which sounds very stressful to me. Okay. Because of the fundamental challenge of transferring critical thinking skills from one domain to another, the authors restrict the scope of this work described here to one domain, the discipline of history. Very smart, big brain. Got to head out to review my VOD and stuff, but it was nice meeting you. Thank you, you too. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for the raid. Very cool. Enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, I hope you stop by again sometime. That'd be very cool. And I'll try and stop by your stream as well. There is a literature which shows that history can engage both the dispositions and skills necessary to think critically, making it a useful domain to focus on. Critical thinking is something that people sometimes skip over a lot. One of the biggest things that I had in classes was when people would, in a kind of contrarian way, just say something, sometimes the curtain's blue because the curtains are blue, and refuse to think further on it. Yes. I wonder how people stimulate and make games that engage the thought process. Yeah, honestly, like, so there's like two types of students in my classes that make me sad. One of them is that the ones that just sit there and say like, oh yeah, I think it's just like that because it just is. So for example, in psychology, like they tend to just default to like, oh, I guess it's just biological, and that's it. Like they just don't think about it any further. It's like, oh yeah, it's just genetics, isn't it? Without any thought about like why it would be genetics or how that would even manifest itself. The other ones are the ones that just argue for the sake of arguing, because that is not critical thinking. Like if your reason for expressing critical thoughts is just to irritate somebody or just to prove that you can, then that is not critical thinking. Critical thinking is more like, yeah, being able to look at something and consider a whole diverse range of potential inputs and outputs and filter it down based on the evidence and identify where there's blind spots. That is more what critical thinking is. It's not arguing, okay? They're two different things. You can be very, very nice about your critical thinking. Trust me, it's possible. Oh no, it's just biological cries. Yeah, that's me every time. And like sometimes it's just outright like offensive as well. It can be really wacky sometimes. I've heard people use biology to explain everything and I'm like, no, stop. Okay, right. Yogev. I don't know. Yogev. I don't know. Yogev. We'll go with Yogev. Argues that critical thinking should be considered a fundamental part of the discipline because of history, because of the role it plays in forming citizens who actively engage with their democracy. Ooh, interesting take. Societal trends like the consumption of information through scattered media sources and the fragmentation of society into smaller communities further increases the risk of developing historical consciousness in students. What is historical consciousness? I don't know what that means. What, like awareness of history, I guess? Oh, it increases the challenge even. Okay, that makes more sense, yes. They're two different things, are they not? I've already forgotten what we were talking about. I'm so sorry. What was it? Was it being contrarian? Or was it... Okay, it's fine, okay. I'm sorry. I literally have like 3 brain cells functioning at any given moment, so yeah. Yeah, unfortunately at the minute, because my whole life is either writing my thesis or doing my job, which is like writing grants and doing finance documents and all sorts of boring stuff like that. I get onto stream and I actually am just not with it. Like my Saturday streams where I'm playing games, irritatingly, that's when I'm the most sentient. I can't do anything about it. Yeah, it's just the challenge of having a knowledge production job, and then also trying to do educational streams. It doesn't always go well. We're doing our best though. Okay, right. Clear in this argument is the implicit belief that teaching students history will encourage them to think critically about broader issues, or in other words, increase student disposition to think critically. That's good. Yes. That should... I mean, in theory, but that's not really how it works, I think. It's not boring. I'm sure that there's tons of people that would enjoy it. Okay, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. It's very good. Thank you. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like kind of glad that I end up being like that though as well, because I do want people to realize that like scientists aren't. We're not all. Like the media stereotype of being like all like lofty and very very smart genius, or being like a literal mad scientist that does unethical stuff. And I want people to convey that I can have the chaos of a mad scientist without the unethical stuff. Like, I'm just a normal person. I just happen to like choose a career that's involves a lot of I don't even know what it involves at this point. It just involves a lot of writing and reading and running questionnaires and putting people in a lab and doing things to them. Ethical things, I would like to add. Very ethical things. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just a normal person that happens to almost have a PhD. Like, yeah, they go hand in hand, I think. Most people that I know that I work with are normal. There's only a couple that I've met that I'm like, okay, you fit the stereotype. But they really are a tiny, tiny minority. Okay, right. McLaughlin and McGill view history as a particularly appropriate domain to boost the critical thinking skills of students because of the type of thinking the field demands of its scholars. Are they historians? That sounds like something a historian would say, trying to justify themselves. I mean, it's fair, but I don't know. I think probably a lot of fields can do the same. Indeed, the example Halpin gives to illustrate a critical thinking task is of weighing the relative credibility of two sources, which is an integral part of the work of a historian, as the rest of this section will illustrate. I mean, yeah, that adds up with my understanding, so fair enough, fair enough. The author's understanding of the process of the historian at work is based on The Pursuit of History, a book by Tosh and Lang marketed as the essential introduction to the practice of history. Therein, Tosh and Lang spend the majority of their page describing the process of the historian. This is something which sets the work apart from other renowned books on the subject by historians, such as Carr, which focus primarily on providing a definition of the discipline. You know what? I love that. I love that. Because there are so many, like, psychology books that just go into, like, something very, very specific, or even just, like, a general book that just goes straight into concepts. Like, they'll just jump straight into, like, unfortunately, they often jump straight into Freud. But they just jump straight into whatever, and they don't actually talk about what the day in the life of an actual psychologist is like. And I think that's what perpetuates that stereotype of like psychologists just sit and listen to somebody talk. Because like that's what clinical psychologists do for a little bit of their day. They do a whole bunch of other stuff too. And then like me, as like a research psychologist, I don't listen to people. I listen to myself. I listen to other scientists. I don't listen to people talk about their feelings and stuff like that. That's not my business. Thank you for the hydrate, and sour. I have been talking too much, and my throat is probably starting to be sad. I'm the exciting one. So true. No, to be fair, I have friends that are like, they work in clinical settings doing various psychological things. So they're like clinical psychologists or they're therapists or whatever similar things. And they have some wacky stories. Like I would love to one day try and get a clinical psychologist to talk with me on a stream. The problem is obviously confidentiality is very, very important. So it's quite hard to convince anybody to do it. I have been asking. It's not been going well. Everyone's like, no, no. They really don't want to do that. Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know. They just, yeah. Especially like in the UK, if you're working in the public healthcare system, there's a lot of rules about what you are and aren't allowed to share online. And then like also if you're a practicing psychologist, then you're meant to be a member of like a professional body, and that also has a whole bunch of rules about what you can and can't share online. Frankly, these streams are probably towing the line, but it's fine. I didn't remove my membership. I'm not part of it anymore. I don't need it anymore. It's beyond me. I don't need their money. So yeah, I'm surprised it's hard to find volunteers for this sort of stuff. Yeah, no, I think it's just people are because streaming's fairly new, so I think it's more just that. Also, yes, definitely. Self-care is so important. And I forget about it while I'm streaming. Like I will sit here and do like a 3-hour stream and forget to take a break. That's the kind of person I am, unfortunately. I get very absorbed into what I'm doing, so the hydrate and posture routines are very much appreciated. um but yeah, I think I'd be able to get scientists on without an issue. But yeah, the clinical people, they're yeah, a little bit more cautious. Also, just because like, imagine if you were seeing a therapist, and then you tune into a random Twitch stream, and then you hear your therapist talking about you in an anonymized way. Like they're not saying it's you, but you know it's you. Like that's a very serious risk for therapists, especially if they're working with younger people. So yeah, I can understand why they don't want to. Okay, so the author's understanding of the process of the historian at work is based on the pursuit of history. Oh, we read that already, didn't we? Yes, we did. The first step Tosh and Lang outline in the historian's process is what they term external criticism. This involves checking the authenticity of a historical document in the sense of verifying the truthfulness of its geographical and temporal details. Temporal just means time, it's just a fancy word for time, when it was, to guard against forgery. The second step of the process is internal criticism, or actually interpreting the document the historian is working with, which the author note is usually much more demanding. Here, the historian must consider what influenced the author of a document at the time of writing, as well as the concept of bias, that is, the intended purpose of the document at the time, and the deliberate or unconscious distortions in the text that it could have caused. The historian must thus weigh sources against each other, analysing their relative merit to the question that they are investigating or constructing around historical documents at their disposal. Okay, wow, that's a thing. Yeah, that adds up. So they're looking at the document. They're seeing, does it match with what I think it should match with in terms of, how it looks? Does it match up with writing styles at the time? Is it from the right place geographically? Was it found in the right place? Cool. All of that checks off. Okay, and now the document itself, the content of it. Why was it written? And obviously, there's not going to be anything that tells you here is why this is written. Like, you have to work it out. You have to read it and work it out based on what's in the text. And then consider whether there's any information that could be missing on purpose or by accident based on the biases that the author could have had. I find that really, really interesting because that's the kind of reflection that psychologists tend not to do. Instead of looking at what other people, well, no, okay, let me rephrase that. We do that, but it's more in terms of research participants. When we're looking at the work of psychologists, I think we're more reflective on ourselves. So we've got more of a tendency to look at our own writing and go like, okay, what are the biases in my writing? How could my experiences or my identities have influenced the kind of research question that I'm asking? So like, I don't know, for example, I, as an anime fan, might be more inclined to do cross-cultural research that compares the UK with Japan just because I'm a raging weeb. Whereas somebody who has, I don't know, maybe a lot of links to, let's say, Latin America, they've got a lot of links to Latin America, they'd be more inclined to do cross-cultural research which compares the UK to Latin America. Sometimes it's also just where do you have friends that could help you with your research. But yeah, it's considering those kinds of things. We don't really look as much at like old pieces of psychological writing and then go like, oh yeah, this author probably had this kind of bias when they were writing. I don't know. Must be hard at times. It is really hard, to be honest. But a good psychology course will teach you how to reflect on your we call it like positionality, so like where your position in social networks and in social systems, and then how that influences what you're doing. It's not, from what I've learned subsequently, I was taught this in my bachelor's and master's, but I've learned that most universities don't seem to teach this, or they touch upon it but then kind of move on. They use like a more empirical framing. I think it kind of just depends on the type of psychology that somebody's trained in. I could only imagine how many contradictions there are in history and falsities. Yeah, it must be really wild. Like, I would be so stressed trying to like read through documents and like make claims about their like how official they are or something like that, and then not even I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't have the expertise to do that even if I did in theory have the expertise, but then I still feel kind of the same way about psychology stuff as well. So yeah, there should be no doubt at this point that historians must exercise critical thinking to be successful. Tosh and Lang summarise the process of the historian by calling it a common sense applied to very much wait, what? Common sense applied very much more systemically and skeptically than it is usually in the case of everyday life, supported by a secure grasp of the historical concepts, context even, and in many instances a higher degree of technical knowledge. Okay, interesting. I like that quote. That's good. I'm gonna steal that. Not steal it, I'm highlight it. I like it. Thus, the process here outlined is the domain-specific... No, not conspiracy theory. Honestly, they mentioned conspiracy theories once, and my brain is like, yeah, let's go. Domain-specific critical thinking that is the focus of this work, which Willingham noted might be called thinking historically. Okay, cool. So, we're at our next section. However, I have a problem. My problem is, I started this stream like an hour late. I was planning on streaming for 2 hours. We're at 1 hour 45, roughly. But I have a grocery delivery in 15 minutes. I need to go get my groceries. And as has been mentioned, as Ansauer mentioned, self-care is very important. And I need food. I've eaten today, but I need food for future days because, as I've said, I'm currently on thesis grind. Like, I am sitting here, like, typing, reading, and then a whole day's gone by, and I've done nothing but read and type, and the worst thing is that when I need to read, like, 2 or 3 papers in order to, like, solidify a bit of my thesis, like a paragraph, and then I do nothing except, like, read the papers and then change the sentence. And that's my whole day, and unfortunately that is just thesis editing life. But yeah, so that's my life at the minute. So I'm trying to minimize existence, daily existence. So I'm getting my groceries delivered for once. Anyway, that's a very boring update on my life. But yeah, I think we're gonna call it quits with the paper there because we got to a nice pause. We're gonna get onto the bit about reflective practice next, which definitely overlaps with critical thinking as far as I understand it, because you need to be able to think critically in order to reflect on what you're doing. But yeah, not today. My brain is fried. My throat, for some reason, is starting to fry, which concerns me because there's been a bit of a surge in the number of diseases going around where I am. So hopefully I'm not catching anything because I really can't be bothered with that. It sounds like so much fun. Wow, you have to join the next one then. Journal Club streams on my Twitch are every Tuesday. It's Tuesday today. Every Tuesday. They're meant to be at 6 p.m. GMT. I am very bad at keeping to my schedule because I have a real life job. And sometimes my real life job does not like me doing things. Not in the sense of they're stopping me, just in the sense of things overrun. If I have, like, I don't know, a meeting about something that overruns, or if I just time things badly sometimes because I'm not the best at time management. I'm really not the best at time management. I'm a student still, after all. Please give me a break. I can't help it. But yeah, so every Tuesday at 6 p.m. GMT, I do the journal club. And also at the moment on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. GMT, I'm just like doing something random psychology related. I still don't know what. But like, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to work it out. I really don't know. Guide the raid, Yuki VT. Thank you, something stochastic. Husbando mod. And for anyone that's new here, oh no, we've got 2 conflicting guide the raids. I swear I set that up so only one person can redeem it. What the heck? You must have done that at exactly the same time. Okay. Right, I'm going to see what both of them are doing. And then I'm going to decide. Ooh. Yuki's doing game development. Interesting. And Dianella Kione is doing... What is that? Hades? Hades. Who's the furthest into their stream? Oh, Yuki's been going for a very, very long time. Yuki's been going for like 5 hours, but we do like supporting other STEM streamers. So need more people like you on Twitch. Thank you so much. Okay, right. Here's what we'll do. Tell you. Next time that me and Dianella are streaming at the same time, I'll follow Dianella so that we actually remember to do that. We will go in Raiden, but this time we'll go to Yuki VT. Okay? Does that sound good? Does that sound fair? Okay, we've got a nod. Cool. Very cool. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining. I hope that this was somewhat entertaining and insightful. This paper is like, it's not giving me much so far, but I feel like it's going to build up to something really, really interesting. Like, they're kind of just, they're setting the scene. I think they're just assuming that everybody kind of already knows the basics, which is an interesting way to do it. It's not necessarily bad, because obviously science communication through journals is aimed at other scientists. So yeah, that's my opinion so far. It's just a paper. I need to read the actual methods before I can really have any opinions. Thank you for the stream. You are welcome. So let me set up the raid. I am a boomer. I can't do things. We're going to go raid Yuki VT. Yuki VT is doing software and game development of some kind. Something game jam related? That sounds cool. That sounds fun. Let's go join another STEM streamer. And yeah, thank you all so much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the raids as well. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. We love that. And yeah, I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. GMT, hopefully. I hope to see you then. It's okay if you can't come. I won't judge you. I will just be a little bit sad. So bye-bye, everybody. Have a lovely day or evening or morning, wherever you are. We forgot to do the raid message. Oh no. Oh well, it's fine.